Let me just say this. The comments that have been raised, I think, are valid. But we have to look at the business environment in which we have. And this council approved this 72-unit apartment project. It went out and requested a $5 million home grant loan. As my colleagues here know, I've never been a fan of tax credit properties. I spoke out against every project that we've ever brought with the tax credit. That being said, this council voted in favor of moving this multifamily project, an affordable housing project forward. It went out and participated in gaining $5 million worth of monies, government funding, to help this project move forward. And to understand the context of an affordable housing project, you have to understand where Mr. DeVos and his applicant is coming. This project, this affordable housing project, will not carry itself in providing all the infrastructure for that entire project. It just won't be done. There's not that much profit in it, believe me, and certainly not in tax credit properties. So while the comments are legitimate, I don't deny Ms. Walker's comment that we have no guarantee that phase 2 will be completed or when it will be completed. So my comment, though, would be, the question is, are we willing to throw away a 72-unit housing project based on trying to pour more of the conditions onto phase 1? And I can tell you, based on my experience, it's not going to carry it. There's not enough funding in a affordable housing, tax credit, rent-controlled style apartment project that is going to allow them, this little project, to pump in $1 million, $500,000, $300,000, whatever it is, in additional dollars. So we have, I think, that determination to make. We also have been notified both by staff and the applicant that there is a timeline on when this project needs to get started and when it needs to be completed. And I will suggest to you that the market conditions out there in regard to development in El Centro and in Imperial County and in Southern California are going to have, as a council and a city, we're going to have to decide whether we're going to modify conditions or we're going to stop growth, because we're not going to be able to continue the same pattern we've done in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because quite honestly, the economics will not allow for it. The financing will not allow for it. So I think the comments are valid. I think there's certainly concerns that we have to have in regard to whether the funding, how we'll get phase 2 done and the infrastructure in there. I think at least we have the right of way. I think we've at least directed staff to figure out an alternative to solve the sidewalk gap issue, which I think is a very critical component as far as the school and walk-to-school programs that are being pushed by the city and the thing. But I don't think that we're going to be in a position to add a whole lot more in phase 1 and expect a project that we supported, and I grant you this is a change in the way we expected it to come through, is that it's going to provide for this multifamily to go through in the timely fashion it needs to go in order to comply with the grant.
But I think, John, we have to recognize that Chelsea is a very successful company. And this is not, I don't see this as a standalone, this is the only project they have going on anywhere. You're right, if we do the math for just this project, the single family is not being carried. But when we look at their ability to leverage other projects that they have, I think that's what makes it viable here.
But keep in mind, let's just assume that because of the economic conditions we have in the market, and this is why I'm concerned about putting a condition, your condition on 31, on putting a timeline in it. The problem with that is whether it's this applicant or it's anyone else, how can we condition when they would be in any position in this economic environment, in this business environment, when they could be in a position to sell any of those lots or lease any of those lots in the industrial park? So they could be on the hook. This is not a question of whether we like it, it's a question of business reality. They could be on the hook for all that infrastructure improvements and be sitting there 2, 3, 4, 5 years with no return on their investment. Now, you can't cover the financing payment. You can't cover the investor payments. How do you, that's not business reality.
I think that point.
And your points are well taken, Mr. Eddy, and at this point, but I was wondering, if the applicant, they say that this would be a little bit onerous for them if we were to do it in the fashion that is being suggested, but he did not speak to the issue whether or not in pro-rata share, that portion that would actually be attributed to the housing in phase one, and divide that up, whether or not that could be something that would be doable for them. And so,
Well, I actually like Walker's idea of a continuance and allow staff and the developers to sit down and maybe, given the input provided by the council, to maybe rethink some of the conditions and be able to come up with an answer that satisfies everyone. I do think that given the conditions that we have, as we have them, in the economy and in fact, it's coming to play in development, that we will have a low-income apartment complex there with very little mitigation of needs, such as the walls, such as walking to school. So I personally, I like to suggest that we bring this back. If we're not, if I'm asked to vote on this today, my vote will be no.
I'm just going to bring up a couple of points, and I think it's really important. We talk about things as a council, and they are good, important things, but we have to look at what is requirements and what are time. While the gap sidewalk issue is a very important concern, community concern, city concern, council, school concern, it is not a concern of this applicant. It's not their property.
Okay, but we didn't condition that. We're asking staff to come back with a total solution for the area. I don't think that anyone has tied that obligation to this project. But I do agree with Mr. Silva. We have a meeting already scheduled for Monday, so it's not like the applicant is going to be put off for a significant period of time. If staff has the time between now and Monday to work through some of the issues that I think council has clearly articulated that's causing us, at least three of us, to express some discontent with the way the conditions are currently structured. Now, we can spend the next couple of hours and wordsmith this as a council. That's never been very effective and it's very time consuming. My suggestion is, and I agree with Mr. Silva, we already have a meeting scheduled on Monday. Perhaps this is an item that we could add to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, it appears that we do not have a vote on this.
Well, let me ask the applicant.
But I
We're going to ask him whether he thinks there's something that can be worked out by
but
staff between now and Monday.
Well, but if Mr. DeVos is coming forward, perhaps he will share with us what kind of, I hate to use the word contention, but what kind of area that he thinks that he could look at and make this a project that will respond to the questions and concerns that were raised by the councilman.
Thank you for the opportunity. Again, Tom DeVos, Development Design and Engineering. If we're talking about Monday, there's no doubt in my mind the things that are being discussed, and because of the way staff has worked so well with this, we could probably tackle most of those issues. The issue that we're never going to tackle, though, is the issue of that long-term guarantee. And I understand your concern, but I think you need to realize that there's no guarantee today that anything will happen there. And I think to the mayor's point, and I applaud it, we have to find a way to work to make things work under today's condition. And this isn't something that we could rob other projects from to make happen. They're all this way. If we had 6 of these, all 6 of them would have the very same challenge in fitting in the little box that's allowed for the rent requirements that are there. Now, to the changing of the language of maybe we front some of those dollars for what the impact of phase 1 is now and phase 2, yeah, I think we could probably work that out. In regards to providing the right-of-way, again, that's being provided up front. So that's in your pocket. That's done. No matter what happens, you have that right-of-way. We had worked with staff, and we were actually quite surprised and amazed that they were able to get this to you today